there aren't many people that come in and pick it up and also convey the knowledge that they have like you do. So it's like you get it really well, and I see you applying it really well. You follow what was in the courses very well, and I want to talk to you about that too. But not only that, you're also teaching it really well. Like you convey the trades really well. So I gotta not only applaud you on that, but also thank you for giving me the time and everybody on the YouTube community the time.
No, thank you, man. Honestly, like the strategy, like it really just meshes with me because I'm very analytical. I'm like a very like I'm an analytical guy. I like routines, and that like it just kind of clicked. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
it's nice. It's really good. It's been really
All right,
helpful.
good. I'm glad, bro. So let's get right into it. So welcome back, everybody. I appreciate you taking the time to be here. I have another awesome conversation. I don't want to call them interviews because it's not like a, hey, how old were you when this happened? It's a conversation. And today's conversation is going to be, I think, really relatable to a lot of you, whether you're new and you're struggling to find a system, to find consistency, or if you've been trading and you're not at that level that you want to be. I think no matter where you are in your trading journey, you're going to take some value out of my conversation here with Alex Alfonso. So, Alex, before we jump into the questions, say hello to everybody and give us like a 50,000-foot view of who you are.
Hey guys, so my name is Alex Alfonzo. I'm 29 years old from Yonkers, New York, and I'm a Forex trader pretty much, or I like to consider myself a Forex trader. Not a master of anything yet, but I'm working my way there. I'm trying to get better day by day.
I like that. Not the master, not the guru, but just trying to get better every day. I feel like that is the humble man's approach. So that's probably not the bravado that you came into the market with. So where's your trading experience come from? Have you traded any other markets before, or were you just a straight Forex guy from the jump?
No, I've actually never traded any instrument before. I mean, I grew up, I guess I learned a little bit about the stock market, so I had kind of like a familiarity with how everything worked. But I never actually traded the stock market. Um, I got into Forex, and that was like my very first instrument that I got into, and I've had literally no experience in it. I just saw it one day on Instagram, saw a guy that had the profits photo and was like, "You could do this too," and I was like, "Yes, I can." You know, so that's how I got into Forex, and I've been trading it ever since.
It's incredible that you said it just like that because literally when you hear the interview that I did with Dennis, he says it the same way. He saw somebody with the Lambo, with the profits, with the money, and he
Yeah.
was like, yo, I can do that. I feel like that's where so many of us get into trading. Like when I found it, it was I was working for Northwestern Mutual, studying to take my Series 7, and I was just on Facebook and I saw these people talking about binary options. I don't know how I even got sucked into it, but like binary options is actually what brought me into Forex. And I
Wow.
quickly realized that binary was not a legitimate way to make money. And I ended up then through social media, through someone's post with their money in them in a pool, showing me profits transparent in the background. You know what I mean? You know, like the corny, and you know what I'm
You know,
talking about?
yeah, yep, yeah. You know the
I'm
pictures. Yeah.
guilty. I'll call it corny, but I did it when I first started too, when I was creating content. But that's the kind of post that attract everybody into trading. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like it's a good catcher. It'll definitely catch you. You post a lot of money up on social media. You take a picture in front of a Lambo, and you tell people that they could do it. They're gonna buy into your signals, and I think that's the main reason why a lot of people got into it. Some might admit it, might not admit it, but I'm pretty sure that's the exact reason why you get into this
Oh,
trade.
absolutely.
Honestly, in the beginning, you're looking to make money. Like this, at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's about making money, but once you get deeper into it and you start actually trying to make yourself a consistently profitable trader, you quickly realize that that's not what it's all like. It is what it's about, but there's a lot more to it. There's like it's like an onion, man. You just got to keep peeling those layers back, and eventually you'll get to the middle, but you never know when that's going to be. You know.
Absolutely. What helped you transition from that phase of like being dazed by all the social media stuff and being amazed at the potential of trading? What helped you like filter through that to become more serious, like more business focused? Like, okay, I need to not get distracted with this stuff because there's value here, but this foo-foo stuff on top is not for me. What made that switch?
The main driver for my mindset switch was the fact that I was not profitable. Like I'm not gonna lie, I was when I first started. I mean, I started on demo like everybody, but even on my demo account, my P&L and my loss rate was abysmal. Um, I want to say that my win rate was around 20% or something
Mm,
like that, and I had no risk management plans. anything like that. So I was pretty much blowing demo money, right? And that's kind of like a mindset changer because you quickly start realizing that the Lambos and the money, it's not that easy to attain. At least it's not as easy as they portray. And that's what kind of made me take like a step back and slow down a little bit and be like, all right, there's a lot more to this, and there's a lot more to learn, pretty much.
When you realize that, what, because I feel like when you come into trading, at least for me, I didn't know how specific you could even be with your system. Like I didn't even know what a system was. And now a lot of people come into trading and they hear people like you and me talk about a system. Out of all of the pieces that you kind of now have thrown together over the last year or so with us, how important is, because you mentioned it already, risk management, how important is that piece of your system?
Risk management, if not, it's definitely the most important part of the trading journey. If you have a good risk management plan in place, you pretty much you guarantee yourself growth and profitability no matter what. Because you could, if you have a good risk management plan in place, you could lose 60, 70% of the time, and those 30, 40% of your wins, as long as the R&R is there, you're pretty much going to come out profitable.
Of
And that's
course.
pretty much how important it is because in trading, you don't have to be right all the time. You just, you have to be right 40% of the time. That's
Right.
pretty much it. Yeah. At least that's what
I
I
was
learned. That
talking,
was a quote that stuck with me.
no, and I agree. I was talking to Steve Burns, like I said to you earlier, and he was saying to me, out of, because dude, his knowledge is just, his experience is so deep, just because he's spoken to so many successful traders and read so many books, like hundreds of books on psychology and trading, he said, in his 20, 30 years of experience. And he said the number one thing that the best, like Paul Tudor Jones quality traders, the number one thing they all had under control and in common was their risk management. No matter what, it didn't matter what market they were in, it didn't matter anything. There's always big dogs in every market, he was saying, but the biggest ones always had the best risk management. Always. They knew how to either hold on to their winners the best and or they knew how to cut their losers so fast that even if they lost a lot, their winners still were so much better than their losers that they ended up being profitable. So what would you recommend to somebody who's trying to find that consistency in a risk management system? What would be the first step in that? Because there's a lot of different ways to go about that: sizing, grading, um, just so many different areas that we can approach risk management from. What would you recommend to somebody that's struggling to put a, like you said it word for word, a risk management plan, I think is how you called it, a
Yep.
risk management plan? How would you put that in place, step one?
Step one, I would tell the new trader that the first step that they should always like set in stone is determine the total amount that you're willing to lose a day, right? The total amount you're willing to lose a day. And I suggest keeping that number relatively low to your account size being, like 2%. And that's me
Yep.
being a little generous, to be honest.
Yep.
Like yesterday, I took that 0.25 loss on Euro and I didn't even trade anymore after that. You
Sure.
know? But everybody's different. But I do suggest solidifying set loss limit for your day. And then I also suggest solidifying a percentage that you want to risk per trade, depending on the setup that you're taking. Now, not each trade is going to get the same amount of risk. Like you don't want to be risking 1 to 2% on like less probable trades, and you don't want to be risking less amount on higher probability trades. You know what I mean? Because then
Sure.
kind of you're kind
You
of
screw
messing
up the
yourself
system
up
more.
there.
You
Yep,
screw it up. Yeah, you're messing up the math. How do you
definitely.
stay consistent to the, like specifically for the people listen, how do you know which trade is worth 2% versus which trade is worth, like you said today, a quarter of a percent or whatever it was, half a percent?
Well, depending on their system, based on our system, the ASFX system, we have a checklist that we pretty much go through for each pair that we're looking to trade. And the more ticks that pair ticks off that checklist gives it a higher grade, which means it deserves a higher risk. Because if you're speaking about numbers, the higher ticks it gets off a checklist, the more probable it's going to be, right? So,
Almost like points. Like if it has more checks, you give it more points, it's a better setup.
yes, exactly. More points equal better setups. And if you have a pair that has like if you have 5 points on your checklist and that pair checks out on all 5 points, then there's no reason to not go all in on it. You know what I mean? Like put the 1% on it, put the 2%, whatever your risk calls for, and
Yep.
trust the system, because that's all it is. It's literally a game of numbers. It's all fractal. You know.
Exactly. When you said that right there, that's exactly where I wanted to go. How do you find trust in a system? My recommendation to people when they ask that to me is always markups. Like if you have a system, you should be able to go back test it, go do that, and that will help you build confidence. But how do you do that for yourself?
Exactly how you just said it, man. Markups and back testing.
Really?
When I first joined with ASFX, obviously you had your proof already and you had it all laid out there. But I also went ahead and did my own back testing as well. Like I didn't just buy into the course and be like,
I
all right, that's
remember.
cool.
Yep.
I'm gonna make thousands of dollars off this thing. I actually spent, and I still spend hours of my own time just going through the charts, back testing on the weekends. I make sure that I set aside time in the morning to back test the D1 strategy, the D2 strategy, the A1 strategy. And I just take that time to continuously back test it, to just keep building up more evidence that the system, it works, that it's profitable. And I think that's
What
the best way to go about it.
I agree. What keeps you focused on one system right now? The ASFX, like we have our three entries that we use. What's kept you focused on that versus trying to go find another one? Once, like you said, if the testing is there and it checks out in your back testing, why haven't you gone and added another trading system to your tool belt at this point?
Results, man. The results speak for themselves. There's this quote that I always live by. Me as being a tech too, as a day job, it's if it's not broken, don't fix it. Like it's as simple as that, man.
I like
Like
it.
the system works. There's no reason to. Yeah, you could add little sprinkles of your own personal touch to it, which I do. I know Kareem does it too in our VIP group, and
That's
he's like,
experience. That's like your
yeah,
experience.
exactly. Just chart time, just being able to read stuff. You do it all the time too. Like you tweak
Yep.
it, but
Yep.
you know what you're doing.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, if it's not broken, don't fix it, man. And if it's working for you, just because it doesn't work one trade doesn't mean that the system is like it doesn't work and go find something else. I know some people will do that. I was one of those people when I first started because I
Strategy
was
bounce.
strategy hopping. Yes, exactly that. Like, I would be with one mentor for like a couple weeks, and I found that it didn't work, and then I would jump to another mentor, then jump to another mentor, and it was like a never-ending cycle. And then I finally ended here at ASFX, where the strategy spoke to me right from the very beginning. Dude, I followed you for only like a couple of days or something like that, or a week before I even jumped in. The moment I saw your content, I was like, this guy's doing something a lot different than anybody else's,
Why?
because you're actually showing your strategy, like little bits and pieces. Obviously, at the end of the day, this is a business. You got to make money off of something you're good at, right?
Right.
But you were so personal on your social media because you were showing all your strategy. You weren't going deep into it, but you were telling people what divergence was. You were showing your entries and everything like that. Something nobody else is doing that I've seen, at least in Instagram or social media space. There's a lot of people showing
They made it
like
easy for
token.
me to be different, bro. They made it easy for me to stand out just by actually showing real trades because there
Exactly.
are some of these guys on Instagram, to go back to what we were saying about risk management, there are a lot of guys on social media, YouTube and Instagram. Bro, I mean, you saw there's someone that believes that the stars tell them where to put their entries. There are some traders that are on interviews, like they're in a podcast. I hear them, and they've got more followers than me. They're bigger on social media than me. And then when they're asked, "What's your risk, approach towards your trading?" Well, oh, I don't believe in risk. Come on, bro. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, and this is where I throw the flag a little bit, because it's like, if we're gonna call ourselves traders, there are successful traders before you and me were even thought of being like before we were even semen in our dad's dick. Like these dudes have been writing the book for longer than we've been in existence. And it's clear that risk management, like you said, it is the number one characteristic, that the number one skill that you have to master in trading. So to come on the internet, put yourself out there and say you don't have a risk profile, that you don't read risk, that you don't even worry about, I mean, it's just very clear you're probably not trading. And that's the shitty thing. And that kind of gives it a stigma, gives a lot of people stigma about trading, because they look at that as a gamble. They heard somebody they know has lost money. When you first heard Forex trading, was there anything that turned you off before you found ASFX? And because I know that, like you said, you got to find that system that lines up with you, but did anything turn you off to Forex? I didn't ask you.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I was very skeptical, just like I'm pretty sure 99% of the people who first get into
Of
this
course.
this space is, you do your research, you start doing your research, and you start getting bad reviews about it, talking about like, oh, Forex is a scam. I lost money here, it doesn't work, blah blah blah. And I chalk that up to now that I'm a little bit more educated in trading. Forex is not the scam. Forex is foreign exchange. That's the market.
It's
You
the
know who
biggest financial market in the world.
it's
Clearly not a
it's a
scam.
market. Yeah, it's a global market.
Right.
You got scammed by the people who are in the space, but it's not Forex market. So I think that's where a lot of people draw confusion, and that's where I draw confusion. That's what turned me off about it in the beginning. But me, I was skeptical, but I'm also very optimistic at the same time. I'm always willing to give something a shot,
You're
or
open-minded. You're open-minded.
very much so. Yes, like I trust people until you give me a reason not to trust you. That's
That's a
how I
good
always
characteristic,
operate.
bro. That is a
Yeah,
good characteristic to have. Do
yeah.
you think that a lot of traders sit more in that boat where, look, I'll trust it until it proves me wrong? Or do you think a lot of traders are more cynical and they sit in the boat like, no, I wouldn't trust you until you give me a reason to trust you, and then I'll maybe trust you a little bit more?
100%. I think they're on the actual opposite end. They're more on the cynical side,
Right.
because a lot of people are very hesitant to throw their hard-earned money into something that they're not 100% comfortable with. Like people find comfort in safety, and any market, not just the forex market. If you're talking about stock markets, um, equities markets, any type of market where it's very uncertain, there's always going to be more cynical people than there are people who are optimistic like you and I, and are
Yep.
willing to spend money in the beginning as and call it an expense, the expense of learning. You know what I mean?
Tuition, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Exactly. An expense of learning just to pretty much learn the skill and develop like a lifelong skill to make us money, man.
Do you think that because of that bias and because of the initial preconceived ideas that people have towards trading, they come into it often self-defeating, often thinking that they're not going to do it, but they get sold that dream, that Lambo, that stack of money, and that kind of puts their insecurities away for a second and lets them just buy into this dream. And then that's almost where it kind of gets blended, because then a lot of the time the people selling that dream are not the people that can fulfill and help you overcome those insecurities. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yep. I totally agree that people get sucked into that bubble. Like I said, I got sucked into it, man. I'm pretty sure
We all do.
everybody gets sucked in. Yeah, we all get sucked into it. The promise of being the overnight millionaire.
Right.
That's what everybody wants to be, and that's I can tell you that it's far from reality, man. Like,
What
I don't know. Yep.
what do you do to like stay grounded in the fact that it isn't an overnight success? For me, it's always been like my external factors. But what helps you if you needed to? What helped you make the switch to saying this isn't going to be this 500 to $1 million in a month type of an account thing? I need to completely reframe the way I'm looking at it. And then what did you change about the way you looked at it?
Like, what kept me grounded pretty much, like I said, is the losses. The losses were a real kick to the stomach that told me that it's not easy. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
there's times where you could bank, depending on your risk, if you're crazy risking like $5,000 and you could hold the move for 7R, 8R without taking any of that off. You're making what, like $40,000, $35,000, right, on that return. But that's a very slim chance, and that takes some balls of steel, man. Like I wouldn't be able to do that anymore. When I first started trading, I was doing that. I was trying to hold full moves, and I think that's where a lot of because like I said, I didn't have a risk management plan. I would take a
Right.
trade. I would try to hold it for, especially since I had a smaller account. Um, this is when I started trading live. I had like a little like $500 account.
Yep.
So I would take a trade, and I was looking for those overnight millionaire gains, right? So I was risking like $100 of my $500 account, dude. That's 20% risk, you know.
But you don't think that because you would
You
fund
don't
that
think
$500
that? Yeah, yeah.
account over and over and over. Dude, if you look at when I started in 2015, my trader's way, it's $100, $100, $90, $100, 100, gone, bro, gone, gone, gone,
Yep.
because there was
Hmm.
no management approach. But even there, I want to point out one thing that you said that I think is really important. You would end up taking these trades that would move in your favor and then end up coming against you, and you would end up losing, giving back money, not taking the full profit that you should have. Now,
Exactly.
because I know the way you trade, explain to everybody the way that it's changed, the way you manage your trades. Be as specific as you want to give everybody context on how you went from, hey, I got a winning position on, I'm up 4R, I'm up 5R, 5-1 for those of you that don't know what the R is. I'm up 60 pips, 70 pips when I only had to risk 10. I'm up, great. Oh, wait, it's turning against me. Oh, wait, I'm negative. Oh, wait, I got stopped out and I was up 7R, whatever it is. How did you change that? And what specifically changed in that approach?
Well, just a little bit of context behind that. I don't know if you remember this, but remember when I was still pretty new to ASFX, you guys were talking about closing portions of positions
Sure.
at certain levels, right? And I'm used MetaTrader 4, and I don't know if you remember this, but I asked, I was like, I don't know if you could even do that on MetaTrader 4. And
Yeah.
then, I think it was like you or Lindsay that came on and was like, yeah, you could totally do that. All you gotta do is modify and hit close. And I was like, oh my God, I did not know that. And ever since that day, bro, my the trade management went skyrocketing because
Really?
I was bagging when I had to bag, and I was that's really the key to profitability in my opinion, is that you don't, like, yeah, you can make a ton of money if you're holding these moves for 7-8R like we're talking about, right? You're risking 1,000, you're going 8R on it, you're making $8,000 on that trade,
Yeah.
but you don't know how hard something is going to move when you're in that trade. You know what I mean? Like, we were in EA the other day and it moved 145 pips off of a D2 signal. I had no idea that it was going to do that. I was just like, all right, I'm going to take this to the 200, take my 50%. I was actually out 75% at the 200, and it wasn't
And
even
it just kept
2R yet.
going. It
Yeah,
kept going.
it wasn't even
I saw
2R
that.
yet, man. So I think what's changed for me is, um, I have this mindset now that I always just want to come out profitable, no matter what it is. So I'm gonna take my profits where I can get them at each key level, at each key significant EMA, at R levels. I'm taking pieces off.
So
Once
let's
I
go
get
into,
like, mm,
let me go. I'll challenge you as somebody else would challenge you. If you do that and you're piecing out of your trade, so for everybody listening, what he's saying is basically like when he takes an entry, if he's up a certain distance, he'll close some of that trade and then decide, depending on the trade, if he's going to move his stop loss into profit, if he's going to just put it closer, whatever he's going to do. He decides that as the trade develops. But basically, he's saying what you guys have heard me say a lot, which is don't forecast. You don't know how much it's going to rip. So in the same sense that you don't know that and you don't want to pull out of the move too early so you don't miss that potential push, right? So because of that, that's this management approach of let me take some off as it moves in my direction and move my stop loss up. He's saying has proven to be, I think, more consistent. Is that fair to say, Alex?
that's exactly it, man. Because like I said, yeah, your profits are going to be significantly less, right?
Would you
Than
like to
if you
chat
were
with an
to,
Alexa for our social boss?
sorry,
It's
no,
okay.
Okay.
Is
that's
that
not
Alexa
Alexa.
or is that the portal?
No, that's the, I don't want to say the keyword,
Don't
but
say her
yeah,
name. I know she'll do.
yeah, that's
Don't do it.
I don't want to say the name, but yeah, it's the ALEXA.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
but where was I? Oh, I was saying, yeah. So taking portions off of your trade at certain levels is gonna net you less profit, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's still profit nonetheless. It's more money in
Right.
your pocket than you started the day with, right?
Right.
And it's pretty much ensuring that you're always going to come out profitable at the end of a trade. Because say you're in a trade, you get to that 1R level, and right from that 1R level, something, the price just doesn't work with you, and it just turns right back around, which happens quite often. You'll have the
Absolutely.
awesome analysis, and you're thinking that this thing's going to rip for 3R, 4R, it'll hit your target technically. Technically, it should, just by looking at it, right? But for some reason, it just doesn't, because it's the forex market. It does what it wants to do. So you're up 1R and you get a little bit greedy and you're like, all right, you know what? I could take this to 3R at full size. And that pair just rapidly reverses on you. Now, instead of you locking in 50%, you're walking out with a full risk of whatever you had initially risked, you know,
Right.
and you're
Right. And
taking a
right there,
loss.
a lot of people will exactly, and then they take the L where you have to, and this is something else I've been talking to a lot of people about. Steve said this, Gwendolyn said this. You got to play into what you like. Your strategy, even your risk management, has to be around what you like. You loved me for my analytical side, the quantitative side of the system. So your risk management has to be the same way too. You know what I mean? The way you manage the trade has to play into who you are. And for me, I like to win. I don't like to lose. Psychologically, the losses beat me down. I think you're saying you're the same way. You'd rather win, even if it's a little bit smaller, but I'd rather just be blue, come back tomorrow. Blue, come back tomorrow. Where did you take and internalize that survival mindset? Because that's what I would call it, a survivalist mindset. Because you're just like, listen, man, I'm going to grow this account. I'm going to keep winning, and I'm just going to keep showing up. Because if I just do that, the profits get bigger. I don't, like you said, I don't need another system. I don't need everything. I've got what works. I just need to get bigger. What made you really settle in and accept that?
If I'm being honest, it's the fact that you guys, everybody in the VIP chat for ASFX, that's all we preach, man. So it's like if you're in that chat every day and you're hearing the same thing over and over and over again, it's going to start clicking. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I think that's like a really good benefit of having a community of traders to trade with too. It's you guys start instilling really positive vibes, and you guys kind of just start meshing with each other. You guys start taking the good habits and pulling it on yourself from
That's
everybody, from like a collective.
The logo above my head on my arm, it literally means the triangle with the line through it is transcendence, and then the three pillars underneath is a group. So it means transcendence as a group. We go further together. That's exactly why I've always believed that I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I want people like you around me. Now I've got guys like Steve Burns in my network that are like almost my friends, digital friends, and it's like that's exactly what I think the trading community can be at its most beautiful point. And then the active side of that every day with us in the VIP chat. But going back to one more thing I wanted to touch on with the risk management. When you take a trade and it goes up 1R, let's say your stop loss is 10 pips, it goes up 10 or 11 pips, you're up over 1R, and you move your stop to profit and it comes down and it stops you out. You took off a little bit of the trade, as you should, like we talk about in our rules. Let's call it a C setup because you know what that is, and the people in our VIP chat listening know what it is. So it's a C setup, it's up 1R, maybe a little bit more. You take some off, you move the stop to break even, cover the spread, get it up into profit, and it stops you out. And then that happens 5 times in a row. At some point, someone will say, how come we are doing this? Why are we putting our stop loss in profit? Where if I had just left it alone at the original position, maybe it was just a pullback and it would have kept going for me. My answer to them is always, like I just explained, I like to win, I want to be consistent. But this strategy of put the stop in profit and let it run feeds into what you just said, which was react, don't predict. So you give it that space where, yeah, this one might stop me out. Yeah, this one might stop me out. This one might stop me, but this one went 6R. Well, now I'm in that 6R and I'm swinging that trade for 4 days because I did it this way. Is that what has helped you, I think, back to what I said, internalize this idea of solid, take the bag kind of risk management?
100%. Like I'm never upset when I take a little bit off and hit a break-even trade. I don't even get upset if I didn't get to take any off and I get taken out of break-even, because at the end of the day, I didn't lose money. You want to stay away from losing money. That's the name of the game. Like survivability, like you said, is our job as traders, I think. As real traders, because there's some that's going to be out there swinging for the fences. They'll lose 10 times and they'll win the one that'll get them.
They'll show you just the one winner. They won't show you the 10 losers.
Yes, exactly. So those are those traders, and those aren't even, to me, no offense, they're not considered traders. They're considered gamblers. They're going to casinos is what they're doing. They're throwing craps is what they're doing. And you could win it. Anybody could win at Vegas. I could win at Vegas. But can you consistently win at Vegas is the real question.
Yeah.
Can you consistently win at blackjack? No, not many people.
And even there's very select few, but that is a great comparison. And I feel like that's even in that gray area, going back to what we were saying about how people's opinions, excuse me, people's opinions of trading, they have that stigma. The stigma they always go is, oh, it's gambling, it's gambling. It's gambling if you don't have a system. So now that you've kind of put this system together, if you could look back to when you first got started, what would be like the number one thing you would tell young Alex? If you were like, hey, bro, I can see you down there. I know you just found out what Forex is. Don't do this shit. What would it be?
Oh, man. I can't even say just one thing. There's like a bucket of things that I wish I can go back to when I first started trading and just tell myself to kind of ease myself into a better journey. But if I had to pick one thing, just one thing, man, that's such a tough call, bro. I want to say find a community and a strategy that works with you as fast as you can.
And that's a great great point. I don't mean to cut you off, but you just reminded me of something you said earlier too. The strategy bouncing. I want you to speak on this because people talk down on that. Explain to new traders why it's okay to bounce strategies, but only until you get to the point that you just said. Till
Exactly.
something you
In my opinion, there's nothing wrong with strategy bouncing because you're trying something out, and as long as you give it enough time and you literally figure it out for yourself that that's not for you, you gave it a valid try, move on, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what happened with me when I first started. I think I went through about, I want to say four mentors before I stumbled upon ASFX. And each one I quickly realized wasn't for me. You know, two of them were trading swings, which I'm not a fan of. I don't like swing trading. One was it was like a mix of scalping / day trading, but the strategy although also didn't mesh well with me because it was more, now that I'm in ASFX, I can kind of say that it's more trying to predict where the market is going, as opposed to having like exact entry rules. And I think that's what each one of these mentors in their strategy, and I'm not trying to talk down to them, that's why I'm not mentioning their names, because obviously it works for them, they make money off it. But what I think they lack is exact entry rules. You know what I mean? Precision, yeah. Most of them are just saying, look for the rejection here, at this
support
zone.
here, the wave comes here, when the wave hits this corrective wave and the impulse wave, but then they don't give quantitative numbers. So you really like the data piece of it. The data gave you something to be like, hey, this is that quantitative piece that I needed.
Yes, 100%. I mean, in the system, you're looking for exact things, you know, in our trading strategy, you're looking for if this happens, then you do this. It's kind of like a JavaScript model. It's like you have an if statement, then you have a then statement.
That's exactly how it is. Binary code, zeros and ones. That's it. Like, I mean, I look at it from, you know me a little bit now that we've been working together. You know that I'm a pretty open-minded guy. I'm not shy from conspiracy theories, or I'll say whatever. Like, I don't care. When we talk about the simulation theory and the ideas of computing and the power of code, to think that it's as simple as zeros and ones that create the internet, basically, that create everything that we're doing, it really comes back to that's like, why overcomplicate the trading? Let's just make it binary. Let's make it this or that.
Exactly.
Is it this or is it that? Is it a swapping liquid 50, Alex? Well, it's kind of in the sell zone for a second. Bro, I didn't know if it was in the sell zone. That's what I said. I'm like, that's not what I asked you. Is it swapping? Yes or no?
Yes or no. Yep. Yes or no. That's it, man. And I think that's the best part about it, and that's what a lot of strategies out there are missing. But going back to the whole thing about swapping mentors or swapping strategies, it's definitely not wrong. You know, do what you got to do to find your path. Everybody's path is going to be different. I had to go through 5 mentors to eventually find something that works for me, and that's okay. Somebody might have just jumped in right from the beginning and found this that they clicked. And honestly, if you found this as a very new trader, I commend you. Like, like you're lucky. You're one of the lucky ones. I'll tell you that. If you found this strategy,
it's an interesting time because we're building that out for people, right? Like, we're building this. That's what I think about now. It's like I am creating the brand and the place where people can go that would give them a better start than I had, because I had nothing. I had dudes in France that were not speaking English trying to teach me. So it's like, I'm not even kidding. So now that we're in that position, it's pretty unique to when we have to tell new traders, like, we're not trying to sell you anything. We're not trying to scam you, not trying to spam you, not trying to do it. But like, you need something like this, And it's interesting because you can find them in different markets. And honestly, speaking about different markets, I wanted to get your input going forward because I know you kind of have a good handle on global markets. Not that you're an economist, neither of us are. And we just kind of read what's going on and we try to keep up with it. But what are your thoughts on Bitcoin going into the next 6 months? And if you'd like to comment on gold, just as a comparative to the dollar and to the Forex market, how do you see everything that's happening right now? As we stand, everybody, Bitcoin is at 92.98, just so you know.
Not for nothing. I think I'm kind of like the wrong person to ask regarding that.
That's okay.
I don't really have an opinion on Bitcoin. That's why when you guys talk about it, I don't really chime in. I'm like 100% solely just Forex. Forex and a little bit of the stock market. I do a bit of speculation on the stock market, being that it's at an interesting time right now. And it's kind of a crucial time whether we're gonna start making higher highs now, or are we in a small correction phase before another wave down?
Well, what do you think? Is it a dead cat bounce? Just a big dead cat bounce?
If I'm looking at it based on our strategy, which is a technical strategy, I think we have a lot of room for upside. Just using our strategy in general, like technicals, using the EMAs and stuff like that. We've kind of broken levels already on the EMAs that show that we could keep rising. but the fundamentals might come into play, and depending on how worse this whole coronavirus gets. If it gets worse before it gets any better, then I'm expecting another tumble down on our U.S. stocks, pretty much.
Do you think there will be a second wave of this virus that could lead to that?
100%. If what they're talking about is reopening like a lot of states and stuff like that, I personally think it's too soon, and I feel like the reopening of states is being driven by greed, pretty much. We're losing a lot of money, and that's definitely a factor that we can't ignore.
Sure.
But I feel like that's really driving people or the government and politics to start opening stuff up really early, because the virus, we don't know too much about it. It could resurface, which could come back with a second wave even harder. So in my opinion, why not suck it up for maybe another couple of months? Yeah, we're going to lose money, but is it worth reopening and then having to close for another year? Or do you
Right.
want to maybe
Oh
stay
my
closed
God.
for
Could you
two or three
imagine
more
that?
months? Nah, dude. I want this to be over by September, man.
Well, you're in it even more than I am. I'm out in central Pennsylvania. For everybody that doesn't know, Alex is in New York, where it's much worse where Alex is. And
Yep.
I feel like the I agree with you 100% on the side of we will have to see how that's kind of what's kept me away from trading stocks, to be honest. It's that you have this other factor that plays into it. So which is the fundamentals, they're very heavy in
Now, yeah.
stocks.
Hmm.
Yeah, they impact the market a lot more than Forex. Forex, people say like FOMC and NFP they do make an impact and they move currencies in a direction, but it's not the same type of
It's
impact
not as
where a stock
drastic.
could gap percent up or down. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it can
Hmm.
do crazy things. So how do you take all that information? And I appreciate you being honest with us that you're not a big guy, you're not a big crypto guy, but you do know that there's something going on. You're in it with the virus, you're
Yep,
in the middle of
definitely.
this in the United
Hmm.
States. How do you take that information and apply it into your Forex trading?
Um,
Has it made you
uh,
less likely to hold trades longer? Has it made you smaller in your size? Has it made you follow Twitter more? What are you doing on a daily basis more now or less?
Uh, Definitely in terms of my trading, I'm a little bit more cautious now because the the movements of even in the forex market is a lot different back in January than it is now. Right now, you could see a lot of chop, especially with the more liquid pairs, like as you've seen with like Euro USD, which is one of the
Sure.
most liquid pairs. But you could see the chop that it's in. Like it's very hard to trade. We've tried to trade it twice with both of us too. It was on Friday
Yep. Yep.
and yesterday, and
Yesterday.
both presented great signals. They looked the best on that day. They just didn't work.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
think it's being driven by a lot of like the whole pandemic that's going on around the world, being that Euro and USD, two of the biggest currencies, are kind of battling it out. So it's definitely made me more cautious in my trading. Um, do I still take all types of setups? Yes. I take C setups. Yes. I know I get kind of heat from that from some people. But that's okay because it's part of my plan. We have a strategy based around it. So why not take it as long as it checks out and you know what you're getting into, you know?
Yep.
Um, Definitely more cautious though. Definitely a lot more cautious in my trading.
Two more questions for you. First,
Yep.
how important is it for new traders to be willing to be checked on accountability on, hey, I did this wrong. Hey, I did this right. How important is that?
I find that to be very, very important because if nobody's checking you on your trading or on your plan or your strategy or your habits, then you don't know that you're doing it wrong. You're just going to keep thinking that you're doing it properly, which was an issue I had because when I first started trading, even when I got into these mentorship groups, they weren't as tight knit as we are here in the VIP chat. And in our VIP chat, you'll post something, you'll have 10 different people giving you their opinion. When I was involved in other mentorship programs, I wasn't really getting that. I was posting my analysis, then I would get the good job, bro. Like no other input though. Then I'd take the trade and I'd lose and I'd be like, but you said it was a good job, you know? So I
Well,
never really got checked when I was in these other mentorship programs, like how I got checked here. Um, you being the mentor, you're a trader first, which is great because you're in there with us every day and you're checking each one of us. Like you post an analysis, somebody posts an analysis, and you're there as the mentor. And I think that's what sticks out about your program the most. It's like you're actually active. You're
yeah.
you're a trader first, then and you're a businessman second, which is
Yep.
amazing. You know,
Yeah.
you're
Thank
you're
you.
in there with us every day, 3 a.m. Eastern time,
It's got
4 a.m.
listen, it's
Eastern
got its
time.
pros and it's got its cons because at the same time as this grows and grows, it's harder for me to be that, my time has become now where like a lot of one-on-ones are being booked and stuff like that. So it's like I want to be there to still coach, but like you said, my number one thing for me right now, because of what happened with the company I was with before Riley and I started this last year and everything like that, no, the number one thing now is my personal happiness, my personal health, and my trading. That's the top right there. Coaching and everything else, it's up there. It's all in the top bracket of top priorities. But if I want to stop and I want to walk away and I don't need to worry about answering anybody, I give myself that freedom, just like everybody else in our chat does. But then at the same time, when I get people that DM me and say, hey, give me feedback on this, I'll do exactly like you said, which is what I want people to do to me. You do it to me in some of my trades. What I found super valuable, just for people listening, if you ever want to take a step forward in your own trading and ask for accountability, that's all you need to do to get it going, is ask for it. Just say, can you give me some feedback on this? But when someone comes at you and just straight up types back on a keyboard and says, no, you are wrong, don't get butthurt. Too many people get emotional and they get all like, he's being mean to me. It's like, come on. And that's what I love about our group and love about people like you. It's like, we're not going to worry about that. If I'm being mean or not, it doesn't matter. Read the words that are coming out of my text and listen. Like, that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to grow, not, cushion your feelings and give you a 5th place trophy. In trading, there's no 5th place trophy. You're either making money or you're not making money.
You're not making money, yeah. Well, actually, there's 3. It's either that or you're breaking even.
Yeah, you're breaking even. But eventually that's going to change. Eventually you'll stop breaking even. You'll start losing or making money.
Exactly.
For our final question, Alex, I want to leave I really appreciate everything we covered here. I'm interested to see, for everybody that's still watching the YouTube video and listening to the podcast, comment and let us know out of all of these topics that we've covered here, where do you want us to go when I bring Alex back onto the show in a couple of months, when we touch on Bitcoin, when it's at 20K and gold's at 3K? And I'm just kidding. But when we bring Alex on, let me know what you guys wanted to hear in the comments. But Alex, I want to leave it to you here. If there's anything that you want to get across to the new or struggling trader that's listening, take the floor.
Main advice to new and struggling traders: get a risk management plan. Get a mentor that actually cares about you and that really cares about you. Get involved with a group of traders, because trading is a lonely profession in general. When you're trading alone, it's very, very lonely. You're sitting at the charts for 5-6 hours, sometimes the whole day, and you're not talking to anybody. Nobody's giving you feedback. It could be very lonely, and it could be very emotionally draining. So you should definitely get involved with a group of people as much as you can, even if it's 2-3 people that you set up trading with. I also suggest, if you're brand new, don't shy away from trading on a demo account until you know you're ready. I know there's a lot of controversy about that, about people saying that you should get into a live account as soon as you can because you're not going to feel the real emotions. But I think that's kind of false, because when I first started trading, I was on a demo account for a good amount of time. I funded my first live account, but after 2 weeks and I started getting a lot of losses, I pulled that money out and I went right back to demo trading, And I think the key point about demo trading is you get what you get. You get out what you put in. Because when I was demo trading, I treated it like a live account, 100%. When I was taking losses, I was really butthurt when I took a loss on it. When I won, I was really excited, even though it wasn't real profit, but I feel like that had built me out. Yeah, it's all a mental game, So it built me out pretty strongly, to the point that when I did start trading live, I carried the good habits that I had into my live trading just because of demo trading. And I think that's really it, man. Just go at it. This isn't something easy. There's people that's been in this racket for years who are still learning every day. Be comfortable with learning. That's the thing. Also, be very comfortable that you're going to learn something new every day. You're never going to be 100% correct, and you're never going to win 100% of the time. If you're a good trader, you'll win about half the time, 40% to 50% of the time. The key is risk management, like how we were talking about. Make sure your winners are a lot bigger than your losers, and you're going to come out profitable at the end.
And so basically what you're saying is swallow the ego and put in the work. There's no room for ego, and there's
Nut up or shut up.
Nut up or shut up, bro. I
Nut
love
up
it.
or shut up, man. That's it. It's not easy, bro. It really isn't. Everybody comes into this thinking that they're going to be a millionaire overnight. That's the furthest thing from the truth, man. If anything, you'll make a few $100s within your first couple of months if you start getting a handle on everything. And
but
you
if
have to
you
accept
it for a year, you're going to be in a way better spot.
way better position. Yeah, the key is taking those little steps for like just the bigger picture is what you have to be concerned with. You have to understand that this isn't a get rich quick scheme that a lot of people kind of portray it as. Really isn't. Is it possible? 100%. It's definitely possible. It's possible to take one trade and it becomes a runner, getting that to you at a couple $1,000s. It's great. But then that next trade you could automatically lose that $1,000. So yeah, it's a long-term game that you have to be 100% committed to. And if you're really committed, you got to be ready to sacrifice sleep, sacrifice weekends, sometimes sacrifice family and friends, although they're very important, but you have to make time to learn this craft. And if it's something that you're really into, man, just dive in. There's really nothing there's if you like it, you love it, and you want to get good at it, there's no reason not to dive in.
I love it,
And
man.
if it doesn't work out, just walk away. That's it. You tried it. Yeah,
Exactly.
you tried it. It wasn't for you. You tried it. You're gone.
That's it, man. So where can everybody find you, Alex, on social media? What is the best way to get in touch with you?
You guys can find me on Instagram at Alfonso FX. I just started a new Instagram page where I'm diving a little bit deeper.
Killer content.
Thank you, man.
I think my phone is on fire when you post. It like catches on fire and starts smoking.
I went to school for graphics. That's my background, and I also.
Got a cheat code, is what he's saying, everybody. He's got a cheat code.
Yeah, and I did like freelance photography and videography and a whole bunch of like creative stuff on the side. So, but yeah, I just started a new Instagram account. You guys can find me there, Alex Alfonso FX. I'm also working on launching a YouTube where I'm going to be documenting like the life of a trader, like the real life of a trader. I'm not talking about like hopping into a Lambo and driving or anything. I'm talking about you guys are going to see me sitting at my desk trading at like 3 a.m. And if you guys are interested in something like that, you guys want to see content of what it's really like, I'm going to be as real as I can be on this YouTube channel. You guys can find me there too, Alex Alfonso FX as well, and I'll leave a link in my Instagram for you guys to check that out when it launches.
I'll put everything down below too, Alex, so that way they can all go. I'm excited for the YouTube channel, bro, and I know people will be watching this in the future after you already have a bunch of shit on there, and it's going to be awesome. So I'm excited just because I know you make great content. So I just love the way you creatively paint the whole thing. So it's going to be awesome.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely, bro. So thank you again for the
time. You want it too, man. We're gonna do like we're gonna have to meet up one day, and then we're gonna do like
I know
vlog,
we're too close to not. I know, and
exactly.
No, but I love to be on, and that's the name of the game with the collaborations. That's how we reach more people and actually make it. So yeah, absolutely. But thank you again, bro. I can't thank you enough for the time. YouTube community, thank you guys for sitting with us. We really appreciate it, and we will see you in the next video.
See you guys.